Yay, we are live. Hello. Say hi in the comments if you're with me so I can see who I've got here, whether I've got anybody here. Sadly, this is not like Zoom where I can see people, so it's always a bit weird just talking to my webcam. So if anybody's with me, say hello. Hi, Alexa. Good to have you back. Hello. If it's just you, Alexa, then... Oh, Rachel, hi. You again. Lovely. Oh, no, you weren't there yesterday for the business talk, where you were just there for the home studio setup. Brilliant. Lovely. Okay, so it looks like I've got a few people watching now. Cool. So, yeah, if you're all returning customers from the home studio setup chat, you already know who I am and why I'm doing this, but if anybody is here who wasn't there for the first set of talks, I'm just going to do a real quick intro, just kind of telling you who I am and why I'm doing these talks. So my name is Leonie, and I'm a voiceover artist, an actress, writer, singer, and teacher. And yeah, I just thought it would be a nice thing to do to kind of help people who want to get into voice acting, just because I've had a lot of actor friends kind of ask me about not only the setup, but then also kind of, okay, what do I do now? I've got a setup, so how do I actually get the work? Especially now, obviously, with the pandemic and the lockdown and all of that. Yeah, I guess it's a desirable thing for a lot of actors to sort of try and get some money in this way. And because I have been doing this for 6 years, and it's taken me a little while to kind of get to a point where I am now, where I can make a living from it, and I've made loads of mistakes, and I've tried out a lot of different things, I thought it would be nice to pass on this knowledge, and also raise some money for Black Lives Matter that way, where yeah, it's a pay what you can, pay what you want donation to my PayPal, and I'll pass all of that on to Black Lives Matter charities. The link to my PayPal is down in the description, as well as a link to a PDF in my Google Drive, which is the PDF of the little presentation that I have prepared for you. Just like for the home studio setup, I've got one for this bit as well. So I'm just gonna get this up on the screen. Here we go, the business of voiceover. So why I thought it's important to kind of talk about these things is because, as I say, I often get kind of actor friends ask me how they can get into voiceover, or just kind of when I talk about I'm a voiceover artist, people just saying, oh, wow, I want to get into voiceover. But I think a lot of people, yeah, kind of don't really know exactly what that means and how they actually get the work. So yeah, I think the most important thing obviously is to know your industry. It's the same with the performing arts industry. You know, when you started out as an actor, you probably had an idea of whether you wanted to be on TV or in movies or in musicals or in plays or in all of the above. And so obviously there's the same thing when it comes to the voiceover industry. There's loads and loads and loads of different areas in the voiceover industry. These are just kind of some that I just wrote down off the top of my head. I've probably missed some as well. So, you know, something like medical narration is obviously very, very different from animation or game voiceovers. And so I think it's just really important to kind of, before you want to try and get work in the areas in the business of voiceover, to kind of just have an idea of what that actually entails, and also to get an idea of, first of all, what you would like to do, but also what you are suitable for. And that's when knowing your voice comes into play. So the first thing you need to understand about your voice and to kind of be aware of is your voice age. Your voice age will be very different from your playing age as an actor. My real age, I'm 33, and my playing age is probably about somewhere between 22 and 30, but my speaking voice is much younger than that. I frequently voice children and teenage characters and sort of young adults, late teens, early 20s. Yeah, just because the sound of my voice is much younger. So you need to understand that about your voice. Probably ask friends, ask people around you what they would, just tell them to close their eyes and talk to them and just tell them what your voice sounds like to them age-wise, because that's going to define really where you fit within the industry and within the specific jobs in each area of the industry. The same thing goes for your tone and character. So are you, do you have a raspy voice? Is it a little bit breathy? Is it warm? Is it engaging? Is it high-pitched, low-pitched, energetic, relaxed, laid-back, conversational? There are all these different adjectives that describe a voice. If you're on Spotlight, you'll probably have seen those boxes that you can select on your Spotlight CV of like voice character and voice tone or something. I've never actually used them on my Spotlight, but you get the idea. And obviously everybody is like wanting to sound, confident and engaging and positive, but not everybody's voice sounds like that. And you really just have to be honest with yourself. Record yourself on your new home setup, and then just have a listen and see what your voice sounds like when you just talk normally. So that's got nothing to do with sort of character work or acting work in that sense, because obviously we can all change our voices, we can all change our accents, but you, as you, need to know what kind of your natural speaking voice is and how it's characterized, because that then will give you an idea of the suitability for different areas of the industry. So as an example for me, I know that because my voice is so young sounding, I'm not gonna voice a commercial for an insurance company or a bank. Usually, obviously, maybe Monzo, but not, like HSBC or Barclays, because the kind of voice that tends to be hired for those kinds of companies has a bit more gravitas and a bit more maturity and, like the kind of, oh, I want to learn something from you. That's not my market. I work a lot in children's content, in animation, in gaming, apps, all these kinds of like playful areas. And also because I speak German, French, and English, I do a lot of IVR, which is the interactive voice response. So when you call a company and you get for English assistance, please press 1, for German assistance, press 2, for French assistance, press 3, etc. So I do a lot of that because I speak exactly the 3 languages that are very often required. Now, that's not something that is fun. That's not something I was like, oh, it's always been my dream to record IVR messages, but it's a very steady flow of work that I get jobs from basically every week, and it's just something that keeps me going. And then you have the ones where you're like, oh, I love doing that. So that for me is the dubbing, the animations, the kids content, where I really get to play the games, all of these things. And then I also do a lot of like the explainer videos, like, this is Sophie, she's the CEO of her own small business. She has a problem with this and that, so she asks her friend for a recommendation, blah, blah, blah. All these things that you like see as a pre-roll on YouTube or something, or like on social media channels. I do a lot of that as well, because my style is quite conversational, quite like, the kind of, I'm talking to my best friend in the pub kind of thing. So in that sense, it's really important for you to kind of narrow down not only where you want to work, but also where you would be suitable. So if you have a regional accent, for example, that can be super useful for, certain types of products or certain brands. Like a friend of mine who's from Somerset, who voiced the Thatcher's Gold cider commercials. So these kinds of things, if you have a regional accent, they are also really useful to just kind of remind yourself that will help you in certain areas of the industry. Not so much anymore. They tend to go for actors putting on accents. That used to be quite a thing. But like now, just because the pool of voice actors is so massive and so many people have the opportunity to record, they tend to just go for the real thing. So I don't think it's necessarily beneficial anymore to say, oh, I'm from London, but I can do a Leicester accent or whatever. For gaming, that's a different question. In the gaming area, they definitely need people who can do a lot of accents because they like to get just one person in to play 3 parts. And if you can do sort of international accents, you know, general American, Russian, French, German, all these kinds of accents, they're quite popular in the gaming area. But I'm digressing. So for you to know your voice, you also need to know your strengths and weaknesses, obviously. So again, you need to be honest with yourself. As actors, we love to say we are versatile and we can do anything. But I think especially when it comes to voiceover, it's really important that you're not trying to BS anyone with what you say you can do. Just because if you're going to go in for a job and you're not able to pull the work off in the way that they want you to, they're probably just not going to hire you again. Like, they don't have the time to try and teach you whatever you said you can do and you can't. So whether that's speed reading or sight reading or character voices, you know, all of these things, be really honest with you. Where do your strengths lie? Where do your weaknesses lie? And where does that make you fit in the industry? Obviously, you can improve on things. If you know that your speed reading isn't great, then, you know, get practice scripts and practice speed reading if that's something that you want to be doing because you're interested in working in commercials. And often commercials require speed reading. You know, at the end of a lot of commercials, you've got your terms and conditions apply, blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, so again, listen to your voice, analyze yourself and see not only where you want to fit, but where do you actually fit. Listen to yourself and listen to others. I think that's important to kind of go on websites of voiceover agents and just have a listen to some voice reels of the people that they have on their websites and listen to the different styles, because usually the way it's quite well done for somebody who is starting out, the voice reels will often be labeled kind of soft sell commercial, hard sell commercial, documentary, narration, audiobook. So you can literally go through the genres and have a listen to, oh, what's this? What is the difference between a cold, why do I keep saying cold read? What's the difference between a soft sell and a hard sell? What's the difference between a narration and an audiobook? You know, all these things, like, it's really important you kind of get a feel for the styles that are required for each different area of the industry. And play, yes. As always, as actors, you know, it's really, at the end of the day, we just want to play. And I think, yeah, for voice acting, it's exactly the same thing. It's not, obviously, when you're reading, you know, medical narrations or an e-learning course for some software that maybe doesn't feel like play very much, but it kind of can be. Like, if you just go and have a look at practice scripts online, get your favorite book, get a leaflet that has been dropped on your doorstep and just play with it and see, like, read it out loud and record yourself and listen back to it and see, oh, does that sound like a commercial that I would hear on the radio? Or does that sound like a documentary that I would watch on Netflix? You know, all these things, like, yeah, just play around and see what you want to be doing and what you think you're suitable for. Obviously, as I said, there's always room for improvement. If you have any weak spots, you obviously need to go and work on them, because you do want to be versatile in that niche that you are in, because of just kind of the things that you can't change. You can't really change your voice age. You can't really change your voice character that much. So within that field, obviously, you can still go and broaden your the possibilities of your work. So in order to improve your voice, the most important thing is microphone technique. if you have ever worked as a singer, if you have ever worked on stage with a microphone, you will already have basic microphone technique. But when it comes to voiceover microphone technique, there are certain things that you just kind of need to know when you start working with studios. And so having your own home setup and kind of practicing on the job from home is a good way to develop your microphone technique, so that once lockdown is over and you go into an actual voiceover studio because you got hired for a job through an agent or something, and you already have good microphone technique, obviously that's ideal. You wouldn't want to go into an audition and they would just kind of dismiss you because your microphone technique isn't up to scratch. So by microphone technique, I mean things like how to breathe properly, how to avoid pops and hisses and clicks, mouth sounds, smacks, all these kinds of things that we are not aware of when we talk just as a normal person. A lot of people have the kind of thing where they finish a sentence, they close their mouth, and then when they open it again, they do the lip smack. So that's something, for example, where at the end of a sentence, try and keep your mouth open so that that doesn't happen. So that's just little things that are really important. And in order to get proper microphone technique and really kind of understand all the little details of it, you really need to just go out and do some research and read up on the kind of learning resources that I've mentioned before in the first talk, and I'm going to mention them again in this one. So you can get mentoring. Obviously, you can do one-on-one mentoring if you have the money and the time to do that. Also, I think if you know somebody who does voiceovers or another friend of yours, I'm sure everybody will be happy to help you to listen to something that you have recorded and to give you some pointers on your microphone technique. Then there are online courses like the one that I mentioned, Voiceover Kickstart by Guy Michaels. That's one that I did. And I'm going to say it again, Gravy for the Brain is probably the best learning resource out there for voiceover artists. I'm going to talk about them a little bit more later. Then there are practice scripts. That's kind of what I said before. Like, you know, you can literally Google for voiceover practice scripts, but also, yeah, you can just, you know, take anything, an advert that you see in the paper, again, a passage of your favorite book or whatever, and just practice and just try things out. Try out different energies. Oh, okay, I'm going to make this a sultry, seductive kind of commercial tone, or I'm going to make this really high energy and power and like, woo, like I'm talking on CDs, you know? So just try things out and just see what works for you, and see what kind of would make you listen to this and say, oh, I want to buy this product. Because at the end of the day, in commercials, that's what you want. Subject-specific training is quite important because of something, well, I kind of pointed out before, where there are subtle differences between all the different areas of the industry. Game voiceover will be different to audiobook voiceover. Medical narration will be different to e-learning. And there are subtle differences just in kind of the tone and the general kind of feel of the voiceover that you'll just have to know if you want to work in these industries. So if you're really interested in working in audiobooks, for example, you obviously need to go and listen to audiobooks and understand how they work and how the voice actors create the different characters and set them apart. And if you want to get into commercials, you know, go and listen to commercials and try and get subject-specific training on one of the courses or through the one-on-one mentoring, so that when it comes to you actually getting a job there, you know what you're doing, and you can, you know, book another job with that client, because that really is what you want. You then obviously have to go and market yourself. Once you've kind of you know, where you're at a point where you think, okay, I think I know what I'm doing now. Yeah, you need to make people know, let people know that you are a voiceover artist. So obviously it would be great if you have a website. I don't have one at the moment, actually. Mine's under construction, but I have a SoundCloud where I keep all of my voiceover samples. So when somebody requests a sample, I can just send them the link to the SoundCloud, and they can listen to it on there. But if you already have a website as an actor, just add a tab of voiceover to it and upload a few samples, and yeah, just make sure that you present yourself as a voiceover artist. Same on Spotlight. That's actually a fairly new feature that has been added. But in the skills section on Spotlight, you can add voiceover as a skill. And recently, I think actually since lockdown, they've also introduced the option to add that you have a home studio. So definitely go and add that once you're comfortable actually getting booked for jobs. Yeah, because casting directors will go on there and will search for actors who have home studios. Not a lot of people know that Spotlight, that voice jobs come through Spotlight as well. But my first few bigger voice acting jobs actually came through my acting agent, because he had put me forward through Spotlight. So it's definitely important to update your Spotlight profile and add voiceover as a skill there, and also add your voice reel samples to the audio section on Spotlight. And then obviously social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We all have a Twitter page, an Instagram profile, maybe a Facebook, actor page kind of thing. Yeah, make sure that you market yourself there as a voiceover artist as well, because you never know who comes across your profile. And on Twitter, there is like a huge community of, it's sort of like a niche area of Twitter that I have discovered, where there's just all these voice actors and casting directors and production companies, and they all just seem to kind of be networking via Twitter. So it's definitely a great source of also finding jobs, which is kind of what I'm going to come to in a minute. But definitely make sure that you present yourself as a voiceover artist on your social media. LinkedIn. Not something I ever used as an actor. I know some actors are on it, but I never was. And I only started using LinkedIn as a voiceover artist. And yeah, a lot of people do. And again, a lot of casting directors and companies are on LinkedIn. I've actually seen a few job posts on there as well. So definitely worth setting yourself up on LinkedIn as a voiceover artist. And, oh yeah, okay. Where to find the work? Just going to take a quick swig of water. I hope some of you have a drink in hand. I've got a glass of red wine waiting for me after this. So where then to find the work? Because obviously, yes, you're marketing yourself, and obviously, ideally, we would want people to come to us and say, hey, I want your voice. But sadly, in the beginning, that's not going to be the case. So you're going to have to actively go out and try and, get jobs. So LinkedIn, again, as I said, a lot of companies and casting directors are on LinkedIn. There is a jobs board on LinkedIn where I've definitely seen voiceover jobs advertised. I've applied to a couple as well. I think I got one. So by companies, obviously, I mean production companies, game production companies, explainer videos, audiovisual, commercial advertising companies, all these kinds of areas are all on LinkedIn, and it's really easy to connect with people there. Same goes for Facebook. If you were here for my home studio talk, you'll know I mentioned Facebook groups as a means of learning, but it's definitely also a means to find work. So again, you've got British voiceovers, the professional British voiceover group, voice actors and actresses. I mean, the possibilities are literally endless. And the good thing about Facebook, obviously, is that it's international. So you don't have to limit yourself to Britain. There are groups that are completely international, that are set up by somebody in the US, and they love a British accent in the US, obviously. So, get yourself on those groups. If you're a non-native speaker, go onto the voiceover groups for foreign voiceover professionals, or also the ones in your native language. So I'm in loads of German voiceover groups because people always post links, post jobs there. There will always be casting directors on there who'll say, oh, hey, I'm looking for a male French-Canadian voiceover. Any suggestions? And so that brings me back to marketing yourself, because if people know that you are a voiceover artist working in a certain niche, in a certain area, in a certain language, and they come across one of those posts, they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember this person does this, and they will tag you. I've gotten tagged in so many posts of other people remembering, oh, Leonie is a German voiceover artist, and I've gotten so many jobs from that. Same goes for Twitter, if not more Twitter than Facebook. As I said, you've got your little kind of niche voiceover network within Twitter. And yeah, there's tons of casting directors and production companies on there who will put casting calls out on Twitter. So look for the hashtags, you know, all the voice acting, voiceover, voiceover actor, all these hashtags, excuse me, you'll find kind of the bigger players. That you'll find a few people who are like followed by thousands of people and who do follow thousands of people, and just look at who they're following and who follow them and connect with them. I've connected with casting directors just via direct message on Twitter because a lot of them have their DMs open, and I just sent them my stuff on there, just said, hey, if you ever need a German, French, English-speaking young voice, here is my stuff. And you never know what comes of it. I have definitely gotten jobs through it. And yeah, as I say, people will tag you in things as well when they come across a call out for a certain type of voice and they know that you do that. So definitely Twitter. Voiceover databases is a fairly new phenomenon, I think. It's kind of in between like an agency and sort of a casting website like Mandy, where you can just upload your stuff as a voiceover artist onto their database, and then you're listed as a talent on their website, and then clients can choose you and they will go through that website. So they will effectively kind of work as an agent, but they literally just kind of get in touch with you and say, hey, I've got this client, they want your voice for this project, the pay is this and that, are you available? And then you do the job, and then you send them an invoice and they pay you. So yeah, it's kind of not really known that this exists, and I kind of stumbled across it completely by accident. I think it was like a Facebook ad that I saw, and I just thought, because it said something like, oh, looking for international voices, and I thought, oh yeah, great, I am one. And so I just uploaded my stuff and completely forgot about it, and then I suddenly got an email from them saying, this client wants you for this job, and I've actually worked with them quite a lot. Probably every, I don't know, 3 weeks or so, I get a job through them. So there's loads of them. I've got a couple of them in the links further down in the presentation. But if you literally just type into Google, like, you know, voiceover database, and yeah, you'll find them, and you can just upload your stuff without any kind of strings attached, and just, you know, hope for the best and see if somebody likes your voice and wants to work with you. Networking, the dreaded N word. Again, it's super important. I think probably a good half of my kind of recurring clients have come to me through recommendation from other people. Again, obviously, all of my experience, or most of my experience, comes through kind of international voice work. But like, I always, when I voice a project in German for a client, and I kind of get wind that they are doing localizations in other languages as well, I always make sure that I recommend my other friends who do, you know, Danish, French, all these kinds of other languages, and just say, hey, this person would be great. And that, you know, comes back to you. I got a lot of jobs through that kind of recommendation. And yeah, just reach out to people. I've found that most people who I've worked with in the voiceover world so far have been really helpful, really approachable. I don't find that there is as much of a sort of, I don't know, power hierarchy as there is in the acting world. Like, I find with acting casting directors, we tend to sort of be a little bit, putting them a bit on a pedestal. Whereas with voice casting directors, I find it's much more of a collaboration. And there's loads of production companies and ADR studios, all these kinds of places where they're absolutely happy for you to just drop them an email and just say, hey, this is my stuff. I'd love to work with you one day. And in this particular case, it really is a numbers game. It really is like, if you just take a few days and just send out as many emails as you can to just as many people as you can, something will probably come of it. And don't just think local, because the good thing is you have your studio, you're completely independent to work for whoever you want. I've got clients absolutely all over the world. I work with people in Peru, in Mexico, in India, in Canada, like absolutely everywhere. And that's the great thing about this, because it's a fully digital job. So they can send you the stuff, you can record it and you send it back. And, it doesn't matter where you or they are based. So don't just think English, don't just think London when you're thinking about networking. Like, think big, think global. And what I said earlier, clients are more important than jobs in a way. You want to make sure that once you have worked for a client once, they come back to you. They want to keep on booking you. So obviously sometimes that's just not going to be the case, because it might be a client who just needed a new voice for their answering machine, and then they have that, and then obviously, that's it. But oftentimes it will be clients who will require new stuff. If it's a company who is producing explainer videos for their products, well, make sure you become the voice for their explainer videos. Make sure that if you work with, a YouTube channel, you become the voice of that YouTube channel. So just make sure that you maintain a good relationship with your clients. And also, if you have worked with somebody and then you don't hear from them for a while, just kind of give them a little nudge, just kind of say, hey, hi, I'm still here. And I've just updated my voice reel. So I thought I'll just send you my new demo. And, if you have anything for me, get in touch. Because obviously sometimes, they will forget. And so probably client relationships are more important than booking the one job. So I would say, like, if I have a deadline for one of my recurring clients and I get a request from a new client asking me if I can do something for them, I'll probably say no. And I'll probably say, no, I've got this deadline for my recurring client, and they are a faithful client that I've worked with for 2 years. So they have priority. I think we sometimes tend to kind of, get a little bit like, oh yes, grabby, like, oh, jobs. But in this case, really, the relationship with recurring clients is so much more useful than tons of one-off jobs. Probably 80% of my work, of my income, comes from recurring clients that I've worked with for 2 years or more. So keep that in mind. And then there's agents, of course. These are just a few kind of that I thought of the top of my head and just popped them on here. But obviously, again, there's hundreds and hundreds of voice agents out there, just like there's hundreds and hundreds of acting agents. And it's just a question of finding somebody who works for you. Again, if you are a non-native voiceover talent, native English, you can sign in exclusively with however many agencies you like. I don't know why that is, but I'm currently signed with 3. I've got other German voiceover friends who are signed with like 20 agents. So, obviously the more the merrier. So go out and get those agents if you're non-native English. If you are native English, I'm sorry to say, they will probably sign you exclusively. Obviously, there's always room for negotiation. If they don't get you a lot of work, you can always see if you can get another agent as well. But generally, agents in the voiceover world aren't as important as they are in the acting world. In the acting world, we can't really do anything without an agent. In the voiceover world, you can be perfectly fine without one. And I'm going to say that it's also probably going to be quite hard to get one unless you have a proper USP, like, you have a very unusual talent, or you speak multiple languages, or your voice just has a very kind of unusual character to it, it's probably going to be hard, because I mean, everybody wants to be a voice artist, and those agencies are absolutely inundated with voiceover reels that they get every day, because of, you know, what I said in the home studio talk as well. It's become so easy for everybody to just set up their own home studio and call themselves a voiceover artist. So these agents are absolutely inundated with demos, and don't take it personally if you email 50 different agents and don't hear back. If you hear back, great, even better. But also do a personalized approach. Obviously, I mean, you know this from acting agents as well. Don't, you know, copy and paste the same email to 50 different agents. Have a look on their website, have a look at their clients. Voiceover agents will almost always have their clients on their website, because people will go and want to listen to their voices. So you can go and have a look at the people that they have on their books, and if you find that, you know, your voice is quite similar to somebody that they already have, chances are it's probably going to be a waste of time emailing them. But, you know, if you find, oh, they don't have a voice that sounds like mine, or an accent that sounds like mine, or a language that is mine, you know, give it a go and see, and let them know why they would want to sign you. And I also think when it comes to that, it's good to have done some work on your own before you try and get signed by an agent. So you have your home set up, try and get some jobs under your belt through all the channels that I mentioned before. And then when you have built up a little bit of a CV, you know, it doesn't have to be massive brands, but just some work that they know, okay, this person kind of knows what they're doing, then I would approach agents. I think I get probably 5% of my work from my agents, although I'm signed with 3 of them. The jobs are usually bigger and better paid. They're usually sort of the bigger brands, and kind of the bigger jobs, like proper commercials and things like that. But they're very, very sporadic. And the stuff that I get myself is usually a bit smaller jobs, smaller brands, less pay, but they are continuous. Pay-to-play websites. A very controversial topic in the voiceover world. You will find out once you kind of pop yourself on the Facebook groups, the pay-to-play websites. Yeah, people are completely split on them. Some people absolutely hate them. Some people swear by them. I'm sort of a little bit in the middle. Pay-to-play obviously just means you sign up for a membership on one of those websites. People post their job posts, and you audition. And if you're lucky, you get the job. Now, a lot of voice actors don't like that, because they don't want to audition, because they don't have the time, or they just don't want to. They want people to come to them. I think, especially if you're starting out, it can be a good thing to do. I personally only am signed up to Budalco. That's a really good website, which is probably the one that has the best reputation in the industry. It's run by a German guy called Armin Hirstatter, and he personally vets every single person that wants to sign up to his website. So you know that the quality on there is going to be good. The competition is also going to be high, but you know that if you book a job, that's a good thing, because the competition that would have applied for the same job probably will have been quite high. I think the subscription is about £25, but it's a monthly rolling thing. So if you know that you have a couple of busy months coming up, cancel it. And then when you know you have a bit of time on your hands to send in loads of auditions, subscribe again. So that's quite easy to do. Voice 123 is also something that comes up a lot in the industry that seems to kind of be a good one. I'm personally not signed up to it, but I've heard good things about it. Voices.com, I've heard a lot of people to stay away from. So yeah, obviously, you know, do your own research and kind of make your own decision. But just kind of as a heads up, I hear a lot of not so great things about it. And then Mandy.com, which you probably all know from the acting side of things, previously casting call pro. I think I was signed up to Mandy Voices for a little bit, got a couple of jobs from it, and then kind of sacked it off because I didn't need it anymore, and there wasn't that much work coming through it. But there are loads of those. If you have the money to spare and you want to kind of just get the experience of auditioning for a lot of jobs, sign yourself up to one of them and see what it does for you. Got a question from Alexa. Did you ever offer to do VO jobs for free when you started out to get experience and examples of your work? I don't think I did. Just because when I started out, I'm just going to make myself big for a second. When I started out, my first ever voiceover job was a job. I immediately made money from it. And that's kind of how I got into it. So it never occurred to me to kind of, like, it was never I want to get into voiceover, so I need to build up a body of work and try and get credits and things. It was kind of the other way around, like the industry sort of found me, so I was quite lucky in that sense. But I would recommend to not do that. To be fair, I don't think I've ever had anybody ask for a voiceover for free. But actually, you know what? There is a website called, I'm going to do some research. I think it was called Casting Call Out or something, which I think is an American website where people will post about voiceover jobs. And from what I've seen, there are some on there that will be for free for get experience. There'll be small kind of apps and game producers and things like that. But I think don't get in the habit of giving your work away for free, even though if you are still kind of gathering experience and want to obviously get some examples together. But really the good thing with voiceover work is, you're going to record a voice reel at some point, and that's not going to have to be examples of your work. You just go in and record something that shows you off the best. So in that sense, it's a little bit different from a show reel where you would really want it to be material from a real film or a real TV show. In voice reels, it's perfectly fine and known that the material that you will record on your voice reel isn't necessarily work that you have actually done. So I would say don't. Know your worth and don't work for free. Don't do it. I think this actually ties me in perfectly to the next part. Yes, look at this, Alexa. You have absolutely segued me into the next bit of this presentation, which is to know the industry rates. There are quite common rates about voiceover work, depending on what it is, where it's going to be used. Is it going to go on TV, on radio, into cinemas, online? It's quite well narrowed down, really. And Gravy for the Brain have a wonderful rate card on their website where you can just click through it and say, okay, a client is asking me for a corporate commercial. It's an explainer video, and then you can look at it, and it will tell you sort of the upper and lower end of where to price yourself. It tells you about buyouts, about all of it. It's brilliant. So make sure you know all of these things and you familiarize yourself with them. I always, when I get a client asking me for a quote, refer back to the Gravy for the Brain rate card. And there is a separate one for Germany. So when I get German voice clients asking me about my prices, I then refer to that rate card. And when you have a client then questioning your prices, you can just direct them to that rate card and send them a link and say, these are the going prices. If you have a problem with that, then I'm sorry, you're going to have to find somebody else. Because I think that's also an important thing. A lot of clients will obviously try to haggle you down. And I think it's important to stick with your prices. Obviously, when you're only just starting out, position yourself a little bit lower on the scale of, higher and lower echelon. And the more experienced you get, the more good quality clients you got, the higher you can go. I'm constantly revisiting my prices and raising my prices. And even clients that I have been working with for a few years, don't mind that I would at some point come to them and say, listen, the experience that I've got now and the kind of work that I do now, I'm going to have to up my prices. So, instead of, I don't know, 200 quid per job that you give me, it's now going to have to be 250. And it's never been a problem, because usually the clients, if they appreciate you and your work, they will pay the money and they'll know that you're worth it. So yeah, just make sure that you know what the going prices are, because there is a huge issue with, again, people who just set themselves up with a home studio and think that they're now voiceover artists, and then they will go out and do work for 20 quid, and that then causes the whole industry to slowly drop, because it's going to be really difficult for people who stick to their prices to still compete. Obviously, I'm not talking about the big kind of brands. They tend to go through agents anyway, and the agents negotiate the rates with them. I'm talking about sort of the small kind of, a startup business, or like an online channel or whatever, and they come to you and they say, hey, can you just record this thing for me? My budget is $10. And you're just like, well, no. If you don't have a bigger budget, then sorry, you're just not going to have a video. You need to budget properly. Having said that, this one always trips me out. Having said that, you can obviously be a little bit kind of flexible with your rates according to what kind of client you're talking to. If I have a small startup, needing a voiceover for their Kickstarter campaign, for example, and I know that, they're all paying this out of their own pocket and they are only just starting out and it's maybe for a good cause, I'm not going to be like, well, it's £600 for this one video. I'm probably going to be a little bit, accommodating and going to see what they can afford. But if I've got biopharmaceuticals trying to haggle me about 50 quid, I'm going to be like, well, no, you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You're not going to push me down, because, for you, this is not going to make any difference. But for me, it might make a big difference. So, just use your common sense and kind of see where you want to be accommodating and where you need to stand your ground. Standing your ground feels so great, by the way. The first time I ever turned down a job because it wasn't paid enough, I was like, queen of the world. So it's definitely a good thing to do. A quick one about demo reels, because obviously you're going to need one at some point. At the moment, obviously, it's difficult to get one recorded because you're not in you're in lockdown and you're not allowed to go into studios. But I would probably recommend, if you are going to want to be serious with this and want to take it to the next step, to start thinking about your demo reel now. Do some research on who you want to go with, start saving up some money because it's not going to be cheap, and have a think about what you want to be on your demo reel. I've just got a few companies here who are sort of the ones that tend to come up every time somebody asks about getting a demo reel recorded in London. They are sort of the top recommendations. I had mine recorded with Crying Out Loud and it was amazing. They was so good and I'm super happy with it. And again, for your demo reel, make sure you know what you want your career to do for you. I personally am not fussed about audiobooks, so I'm not going to put an audiobook sample on my demo reel. I know that I have an international sounding voice, so I included a commercial for Amnesty International in my demo reel. So be smart about the material that you choose, because you're going to have to choose it. They're not going to choose it for you. They might suggest things for you and they will give you feedback on the things that you are thinking of recording, but you're really going to have to go and either source material or write something for yourself. My first voice reel I recorded a few years back, I wrote a commercial that just kind of played into the English-German thing for Lidl. And a lot of people have listened to it and they were like, oh, is this a real Lidl commercial? That's really cool. They thought it was real. So it's, it's really important for you to know exactly what you want from that voice reel, because it's going to be an investment, it's going to be expensive. But hopefully, with a good voice reel, within 1 or 2 jobs that you do from it, you'll get the money back, because we all know voiceover pays fairly well. So hopefully the investment is going to come back. What are you saying, Alexa? Yes, Voiceover Soho, and they were really lovely. Oh, that's good. Yeah, as I say, I've heard loads of good things about Voiceover Soho. Yeah, these are kind of the ones that come up repeatedly, and they have brilliant, they come highly recommended. So absolutely, one of them will work great for you. And then listen again. Go onto other people's voice reels, onto voice agents' websites, and have a listen to the voice reels and see what works and what doesn't work, and get ideas of, oh yeah, this is a great idea, I could do this, and oh, this is I don't know, a great animation reel, I'm going to do something along those lines. Because like for animation, for example, obviously what you want to be doing is getting loads and loads of different character voices in there, but how are you gonna make that not kind of completely weird and disconnected? Like, I listened to one that was brilliant by a guy who he played like a captain on a ship, and he was introducing his crew, and so all of the crew had like a different voice and a different accent, and they were like, the music in the background was kind of like you could hear the waves, and the ship kind of bopping in the waves and stuff. And then he was introducing his crew, and they were all the different character voices. So that's a really creative way of showing what sort of character voices you can do. So yeah, just go and listen to people's reels and try and get an idea of what your reel could do to you. Rachel, what are you saying? If you get coaching, do you think it's possible to record a voice reel that will show you off properly and get you work with your home studio? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, when you go and record a voice reel in an actual voiceover studio, you just need to make sure that your clients know that that's not exactly the sound quality they're going to get from your home studio. To be fair, most clients won't notice the difference, but just make sure that you're not muddling up the two, so that you have some samples of your home studio and some and your proper reel, if that makes sense, just to make sure that they know that if you then record from home, it's going to sound probably a little bit different. I hope I've answered that question. If you get coaching, do you think it's possible to record a voice reel that will show you off properly and get you work with your home studio? Yes, I think I've answered the question. So your voice is going to be the same whether you record it in a pro studio or whether you record it in your home studio. The sound quality might differ a bit, but your microphone technique and your subject-specific skills are going to be the same. So yes, get some coaching, or just learn by yourself, record a great voice reel, and try and get work by yourself. But also, while you can't record a proper voice reel, obviously record some samples in your home studio, right? So that's in the beginning, that's what I just had on my samples. It was just stuff that I had just recorded at home, a couple of commercials, a couple of narrations, some documentary or e-learning stuff, and just record a few samples in your home studio and market yourself that way until you have a proper voice reel. Learning resources. I'm going to say basically the same thing that I said before on the voiceover studio setup talk. Gravy for the Brain is amazing. It's not cheap. It's definitely worth the investment. Have a look on it. Voiceover Kickstart, run by Guy Michaels, is also really, really good. He runs proper courses. The Voiceover Network is a website founded by Rachel Naylor, and she runs brilliant webinars called the Voiceover Hour. The next one is on the 17th of June, I think. And yeah, it's also a really great resource. I'm not sure how much the membership of that one is, because I'm not actually a member, but I've definitely watched some of their webinars before. I actually watched a webinar with Camilla Laxton, who is the founder and head agent at Chatterbox Agents. And I watched the webinar with her and then emailed her afterwards and said, hey, I watched this webinar with you. It's really great, blah, blah, blah. And she ended up signing me. So always good. Again, it's sort of a networking kind of thing, isn't it? And then Facebook, YouTube, and blogs. There is so much information out there. So go and do your research. Few links here: Gravy for the Brain, Voiceover Kickstart, and the Voiceover Network. And then Voquint and Speak Online are two of these voiceover databases that I spoke about earlier. So they are two that I'm signed up with that I get fairly frequent work from. But as I said, there's loads more of them. So just have a Google. And Bodalgo.com is the pay-to-play website that I'm signed up with and that I would recommend if you wanted to go on a pay-to-play website. I phrased that weirdly. I meant recording your reel from home. To record a voice reel. Oh, okay, sorry. Yes. Okay, that makes more sense. Sorry. So, as I say, yes, record samples at home while you have no possibility of getting a proper voice reel done. Don't necessarily bother like making it a mega mix kind of thing, you know, with like music and sound effects and stuff in the background. Most producers actually prefer to just hear a dry read, just your voice. And yeah, just record a few snippets of something that suits your voice and that you want to be working on. But once you can afford it, and once you are physically allowed to, I absolutely would recommend getting a proper voice reel done, just because it will just kind of get you that sort of next level of job, because the way that these voice reels are produced is just better than anything you could record from home. And casting directors and production companies will be able to hear the difference, and they will just kind of, for some reason, just favor people who have a proper reel. Agents as well. I don't think I would even necessarily try and approach an agent without a proper voice reel. There is a little bit of a snobbery about that, which is a bit sad. But again, everything in the voiceover industry is absolutely an investment. If you pay for your studio and if you pay for a good voice reel, hopefully it will pay itself back, like, you know, 100-fold, because you will hopefully get some good work from your reel. So yeah, when you can, I would absolutely recommend that. I hope that now answered the question. Yeah, so wow, that was me talking a lot. Are there any other questions from anybody? If not, I can hear my glass of wine calling me. Oh yeah, I'm just going to remind everybody, of course, about the cause that this is for. So I'm just going to put my little banner up again here, super cringe. So if you can spare a few quid, I've already gotten some really lovely donations from people, which I'm super grateful for. And I'm going to post the receipt of me putting all of that into Black Lives Matter charities over the weekend. And yeah, I'm super grateful for you guys coming to me, rambling on for an hour. And like I did in the last one, I'm just going to put my, thank you, Alexa and Rachel, that's lovely. I'm just going to put my email address in the comments. So again, if you have any questions, any issues, any problems, just, you know, drop me a line, because I'm absolutely happy to help and connect with people who want to start out in the industry and give you a leg up, because, you know, why wouldn't I? Okay, so thank you so much, guys, for joining, and I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and I'll probably see you all on Twitter. Okay. Wow, I'm an idiot. Okay, bye.